Republican Congressman Mike Rogers of Michigan is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. It's nice to see you, sir. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it this morning. We've been talking about these satellite images that we're just getting word of. Have you seen them? What can you tell me about these images?
Well, those are the satellite shots that you see are probably commercial sites, so we have access to some different kinds of materials, as you might imagine. And it's clear that they were doing some activity there that they did not want the rest of the world to see. Many believe, and I have a high degree of confidence, that work that was happening at that facility was enhancing their nuclear weapons program, and that's what's been so disturbing. So they rejected the inspectors to give them time to try to straighten some things up so that when they invited them back with conditions, that they could make sure that people didn't see things that they didn't want them to see.
So do you believe that Parchin, which is what we're talking about here, the location of the suspected nuclear testing site, is in fact a place where there's evidence that they're trying to remove evidence of creating a nuclear weapon?
I do believe, with a high degree of confidence, that there were activities there that were related to their nuclear weapons program. What they were is still up for some debate. But clearly that's one site that they were engaged in some activity. And there are several different avenues that they're pursuing all at the same time. Enrichment being one, missile testing being another, and then weaponization. So how do you get the thing to actually function, the nuclear bomb to function? We think that some of those activities may have been at this particular facility, enrichment at another.
So Iran obviously has done this before, a cleanup of a site that could be contaminated with nuclear waste right before inviting inspectors to come back in. And in a way, it's like a cat and mouse game. Do you think that this is basically just another evidence of another game?
I do. The sanctions are starting to bite a little bit. I wish we would draw them a little tighter. There's things we can do that starting in July we should move up on the timetable, continue to put pressure on them. But they are very clever, and they understand that if they can delay a little bit, they can continue to work on their program. And they look at it as their nuclear umbrella. If they can get a bomb that is developed and that can explode, they believe that they're under this nuclear umbrella. And so the debate in the intelligence community here is, when do they think that they're going to get to that point where they can actually functionally detonate a nuclear bomb? Israel says they think that we can't wait much longer to figure that out, and the United States is, we're having internal debates now about what the next course of action ought to be.
So then what do you think the next course of action could be, and do you think that an attack by Israel is imminent?
Well, I was just in Israel recently and met with all of their folks over there. I came away, Soledad, with the thought that, they're looking at the world in a little different way. Egypt is no longer a reliable partner. Hamas has more weapons now than it used to, thanks to Iran. Hezbollah on their north is well armed with about 30,000 missiles, thanks to Iran. Iran is going nuclear, and Iran said that they want Israel to be wiped off the map. So their standard and ours are going to be a little different. So their argument is, hey, we can't let them even get into the race of trying to make that bomb explode. We have to do something sooner. I believe that if this is going to work, we have to have a credible military option, meaning Iran has to believe that we'll do something if they continue to pursue down this path. So continue sanctions and then show that the United States is serious when we say all options on the table. We can't say all options on the table, oh, by the way, Israel, we don't want you to do anything. That's not very credible. So we need to make our argument credible, continue with sanctions, and I think that's how we avoid conflict.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about Syria, if I can. We're getting word of a major defection, if it in fact is the deputy oil minister. The name is Abdu Husam-Midadin. I'm sorry if I'm mangling that name. But basically, he's resigned from his position and to join the opposition. First of all, can you confirm that that's actually true? And number two, what would the implications of that be?
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to discuss the defection just yet, but I will tell you that we've had lower-level defections are happening, and if this, in fact, were happening, it would be the most senior defection yet. It just shows that there's some pressure there. I would caution, however, that we saw lots of defections even in Libya, even from senior military commanders. They were still able to keep their organization functioning. And Syria is in probably a better position. I think the government forces are probably more holistically loyal, some out of fear and some out of true loyalty to the regime. and they have Iran and other advisors from other countries, unfortunately, and they're trying to keep this thing together for Assad. So it's good news if in fact that proves to be true. However, I wouldn't get too excited just yet. We've got a lot of folks who are still committed, especially in the military, about conducting acts of violence at the regime's request against its own people.
So Senator John McCain and Senator Feinstein have very opposing views on what should be done next in Syria. I'm going to play a little chunk of what they both said, and then I want you to comment on the other side. Let's play that.
The United States cannot be the world's policeman. We still have men and women dying in Afghanistan. We're trying to get out of Iraq. We've played a role in Libya. We see the Middle East exploding. The key is to get the United Nations to pass a resolution which enables the Arab League to go in there.
I understand the strain on American military. I understand the sacrifices made by American families. But I also understand that the proudest part of Americans' history is when we have tried to help other people achieve the same goals that we so passionately articulated when we declared our independence.
Who do you agree with? Who's right?
Well, maybe a little of both. How about that? I'm not trying to be cute here, Soledad, but there are issues with just going in and striking. One, I supported the president on his Libya action. This I'm a little bit concerned with in the sense that they've got chemical weapon stockpiles there that we know of, that they know we know of, the world knows about. That we haven't quite figured out. If you start to meddle in Syria, how do you make sure that doesn't fall into the wrong hands? We don't really have a good handle on who the opposition is. So if we're going to do this, we need to walk through all the series of things that we have. I argue, however, that Syria is in our national interest to have a regime change. You know, Iran used Syria through proxies in Iraq to kill as many as 600 U.S. soldiers. They introduced weapon systems. They used it to funnel proxies into Iraq to conduct operations against our U.S. soldiers. It is a proxy and a supporter of terrorism, and it's something that would benefit the world and certainly is in the national security interest of the United States to do something about. My concern here is we need to walk before we run. There are lots of steps that we need to do and can do and are not doing in Syria that can put it in a better position to tip that regime without direct military action.
Congressman Mike Rogers is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. It's nice to see you, sir. Thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah. Thanks, Soledad.